Hola a todos. Hi everyone. I am Karla Rodriguez, your coach and trainer of NLP and host of Metafit Metamind podcast, the place where we normalize both the conversations between both physical and mental health. This is the place where you'll raise your voice and share your story. As your coach, I'm here to guide you to let go of all your limiting chains behind, and I'm on this mission to use this platform to empower and create awareness and expansion in your life. You can follow us on Instagram at Metafit Metamind Podcast or at Coach Carlita. Please like, rate, subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and like and subscribe here on YouTube. In this episode, I get to interview someone really special, Jenny Patton. Jenny is a coach, a speaker, and the co-founder of Inspired Change Collective, where their mission is to guide others to develop keen awareness, be able to find deeper connections, and feel comfortable expressing all parts of themselves with the world. But something outside of just the description of what she does is that she is someone who I think is always smiling. She's someone inspirational, motivational. She's always doing the work, and she's someone who has powerful words when it comes to creating change. So I think she's someone who is going to continue to go on this journey of being in her leadership position and just continuing so much guidance and growth in this world. So I hope that you enjoy this episode and like and subscribe below. Hi everyone, this is Karla Rodriguez, and I'm really excited for you to be here on Metafit Metamind podcast. And I'm really excited to have a very special guest who I met earlier this year. Actually, I met you through Clubhouse and everything. And this is Jenny, and Jenny has accepted to be my guest here. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and so this podcast is about sharing your story. You know, I always say raise your voice, share your story, or alza tu voz, comparte tu historia. And, you know, I just ask you questions so you can have this space to, you know, let others know who you are, your journey, and everything like that. So let me start with this. Who is Jenny?
I love this question. As soon as I saw it, I was like, ooh, who is she?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like how, and I'm so intrigued. It's so funny. The way that my brain works is like right away, I was like, how do you answer this question? How do other people answer this question? And just to give you a little bit of insight, it's like my go-to is actually like wondering, is there a right way to answer this?
Right.
And the interesting thing about that question in particular is over the past year, I've been asking myself that, like, who am I? And it's been really interesting to explore and learn about like this person that I am. So what came to me as I sat with that question is like certain words to describe who I am. So I'm a very curious person. I love to learn. I am someone who enjoys and seeks out adventure, right? And what's interesting about that is like, while I like adventure, there's also this part of me that is a little bit scared. But that scared sense and that scared part of me, there's like that sense of excitement of like, well, what's on the other side of that fear, right? And so like, as I continue to explore all of these parts of me, is like learning that I don't fully know who I am. I'm getting to know her. And I really like what I've learned so far. You know, like there's so many different layers. There's so many ways that I can go about that. And like the truth is I'm still learning that.
Dude, that's that's a super cool way of answering the question, like this exploration, this curiosity process, right? This getting to know that, what is that deep inner sense, like where is that coming from? And I think that's an amazing journey and story, and way to answer this is like the exploration of self. And I'm just gonna say this, that from what I know of Jenny, she's smiling all the time. She's always got this like, hey, you can do it. You know, I ran with her, and I'm over here trying to quit. And you're like, no, come on, Karla. Like we got just a little bit more. So she's that person that will definitely inspire you, motivate you, push you, and there's a lot more to you. But about this person, Jenny, what is that journey that you had to take, or that story of like that point in your life, or points that have brought you to where you're at today?
I love that too. This is a really exciting question, right? Is because, like you said, we met each other through Clubhouse first. And
Yeah.
I remember at the point where we first like crossed paths, that point in time was physically at a different location than where I'm at now. So I'm
Yeah.
originally from Southern California, and it's been actually 11 months today that we've been here in Austin, Texas. And man, so like you said, so many points in the journey that got me here. And a big part of that was like really recognizing growing up. I mentioned this idea of the sense of fear, right? Growing up, I realized I was actually scared of a lot. And on the outside, I wanted to keep that smiley, happy-go-lucky impression and get people, like, I really know from when I was younger, I really enjoyed cheering other people on, supporting them, encouraging them, even though on the inside, there were a lot of times that I was scared myself of what, honestly, like I was scared of my shadow at times, like I was scared of the dark, right? Like you could say it that way. Like there's this little bit inside of me that was like, ooh, what's over there, right? Like, could there be something there that could hurt me? And so those thoughts, while they were happening on the inside, on the outside, I really was like, I was looking for all of the quotes and I was looking for the things. I was like, okay, well, I know that I can make things different, And so in my journey is like recognizing, as I shout out to Facebook memories, right? I see all of those different versions of myself, that there is this like constant, like, keep going, right? Like that whisper was always there, keep going. And so my journey went from a place of like fear and I'd say a lack of belief at one point to changing the frame of, well, if I'm cheering and wanting to cheer other people on, can I do that for myself too? And that's where I started to recognize it was like a big shift, right? Is that I can only do so much for other people when I'm not doing that for myself. And so to be able to notice that and start actually intentionally working on me for me, and not just like to impress somebody else, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's where it was like, oof, there's a shift going on.
So how did you discover that, like, I can ask myself the same thing that I would ask somebody else, that you can keep going? And also, I have a follow-up to that, is instead of impressing someone else, like, how did you start to impress yourself?
So for me, what I realized was it was through a connection with my physical self. It was that growing up, I thought I didn't have the gifted, talented genes, genetics that my cousin and my brother had for playing sports. In my family, sports were important, and my cousin and my brother shined, and I was like awkward. I don't know why I was thinking like awkward duck, like and so again, right? Like, you guys are awesome, but what I realized is that I was the one that was limiting myself because I put that in that, oh, they have it and so I must not. Until I actually realized is like what kept me back was me and my fear of making mistakes. I didn't want to look silly. And what I didn't realize is that I was, in a sense, projecting onto them as if they never made mistakes on their journey. They were just talented. And I was like, no, they were dedicated. My brother and my cousin, I love them so much. And they are so, like, I remember the effort and the intention that they gave their whole heart into the things that they loved. And I didn't have that thing that I was connected to at the time until I gave myself permission. I went in, and that was like my, like, I would say window to opportunity of like, whoa, wait a minute, look, I'm doing it. And if I can do this, what else can I do? And so that's where things started, is like actually giving myself permission to make mistakes, to keep going, to try, to mess up, and to do really good.
Yeah. And it's like continuing that dedication, right? That, okay, I messed up. Like, how do I dedicate to keep going and keep going and keep going? And by the way, you mentioned that 11 months today or whatever is since you've been in Austin. I think that's when we actually met in person last year around this time. So I'm like, wow, like this time has passed. But that was just kind of like I wanted to say that before we continue. But you know, this process of you like finally giving yourself permission, right? And saying, okay, I can make mistakes. What was that next thing that you did to continue on this growth? Because I always know that you're doing continuous work and always working on yourself. What was going on, or that challenge that you needed to like take over and be like, all right, I'm gonna overcome this because I made mistakes and I can keep going and trusting my body, trusting this process of where I'm going?
So I would say for me, it was finding the thing that I was passionate about. And what I learned was that if I can do this now from a place of like, okay, here are the steps that I've taken to now learn how to navigate in this body, right? And feel good about it. Well, how can I help other people to do that? And so at the time I was studying in my, I went through so many different changes in what I wanted my focus of study to be. And I finally decided that it was going to be an exercise science and kinesiology. And so at that time I was also exploring the world of CrossFit. And at that, like, that is it's its own world, right? And it's really cool because for a lot of people, you go in with this desire to get healthier, to get stronger. And what you learn from it is that there's so many, again, with the, like, you think it's about this, the health and not even just the health, right? Like the health and fitness,
skinnier or whatever,
right? But then actually it opens up so many different possibilities to learn about yourself in the process. And so doing that, right? Doing that, and then being around this community of people, again, going through their own journey, I'd say that really opened up a different level for me of saying like, whoa, if I could do this, what else can I do? And if I could do that, what else can I do? And at that time is when I started to really explore more of like the personal development, along with the fitness, strength, so it was a mixture of things. But as I continued to open myself up to what was available, more became available.
So would you say that through finishing the exercise sports kinesiology, you went to CrossFit, you started coaching in CrossFit, right? And then that's where you started exploring the mindset behind it?
Yeah, definitely. And even recognizing at that time, like there was a lot of changes, being able to navigate that, what's going on out, like externally. When you're in the gym and doing some of these movements that are pretty complex and require you to be fully present, it's like sometimes you don't realize there are not many other situations at that time that I was able to like shut out the rest of the world. And I think that that's what there's just this, when you find that thing, whether it's CrossFit or something else, there's something about being able to bring yourself into this moment. And for some people, it's like those are the first opportunities that you give yourself to be fully present in the here and now. Like you can't do a snatch Olympic lift and be thinking about the things that you have going on at home. If you do, there is absolutely no way that that's gonna go well. You know?
It's like you have to take that time to really like that's what I think that's the one thing not that this is a CrossFit conversation, but that's the one thing I do appreciate about being and doing CrossFit is having that, I guess, mindset or mentality around coaching ourselves during that process, because we cannot be taking that focus time, that energy, and thinking about, oh, is my car locked? Did I lock my car? Like at that point, it's like that. What about that, right? And I do appreciate that, and I think also, I think you may have discovered it before, but I actually discovered, like, okay, what else can I do? Like the views expanded, right? I'm like, oh, I can do this way. Okay, let me try for a little more, right? And that's where, like, I think a lot of people's appreciation for physical health goes into connecting to the mindset and the mental health as well.
Definitely. And that's one of the biggest things, I would say, the biggest gifts that I got. Now, at the same time, there were a lot of things that were not as great that came from that journey.
Okay.
Right? Because while we can talk about the amazing parts of like, yeah, I can do this, I can crush it, there were just as many days, if not more, at some periods of that journey that it was like, oh, what am I even doing? How I can't do this. Look at that person. Look at what they're doing. They've been doing it less than or as long as or whatever, right? You can definitely
and I'm not there.
Start to get exactly right. And then, just like we were talking about being present and in the moment, it's really easy to also be out of that, right? And so being able to recognize that, like, double-edged sword, if you will, there's again so many layers that you go in for this and you've got this whole buffet of things to think about, right? So that in itself was, again, part of the challenges and obstacles, but it also ties back to me getting in my own way. So there were definitely things that I got to recognize later, when reflecting on that period of time.
Yeah, and so now I know you do coaching for CrossFit, but you also coach, and as a coach to help people, I know you got here your company with your husband, and so how did y'all transition into creating this? Like, what's that that journey? Maybe not mini journey, because challenges, of course, but that journey that got y'all to like what you're doing now.
Yeah. So, a big part of the decision to take this next step was that recognition that you go into the gym for the health, and you may think that to be healthy, I need to move, but there are other avenues and other pieces to the puzzle that sometimes we think we're checking all the boxes by doing this 1 hour class 4 to 5 times a week. Right? And the truth is, that's one part of the puzzle, but it's not going to fit the entire puzzle. Like, your life is more than the 1 hour at the gym, right? And so we started to recognize those missing pieces for ourselves. And we were also able to see how there was different frustrations that were coming up for ourselves and other people that we were seeing in the gym. And so we started to explore what's all coming up. Why is it that someone comes into the gym and, at first they're like seeing massive results, but then after, there's a period of time for some people, not everyone, but for some people, that there's, in a sense, a relapse. And then they're getting frustrated because, well, I'm going to the gym. This is my new constant. This is part of my life. But why aren't I feeling different? Why aren't I seeing myself different? Right? And so that's where we started to incorporate not just the nutrition, but the missing piece being the mindset. And within that, our language. And I love that that's one of the things that we've talked about and we resonate with in the CrossFit space and outside of it, fitness, whatever world that you want to talk about, this very much applies, is like, how is your language influencing you for better or for worse? And that was the thing that we recognized was missing for us. And for so many of the people that we've talked to, is like, how many times has there ever been a day that you didn't talk to yourself or someone else? Our words are powerful.
They are.
And so, and so that, I would say, was a big huge piece of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
That we recognized was like, okay, this is something that we're starting to recognize for ourselves and other people that we've been talking to. This is there's something here.
For sure. Yeah. And do you feel like, or maybe do you think like the way that you coach at the gym, once you realized how powerful, how important language is, did your coaching and the way just everyday life, did your language change with inspiring and motivating and pushing people?
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
Huge. And, you know, a big part is like recognizing for a person that's, whether it's the person at the gym or the athlete on the team, right? The way that the coach is guiding you through it is going to impact your experience. And so a lot of times, even just thinking about the concept of like the person that is like in their head, right? You know that you've been in it. You're attempting to do this movement and you're just like, oof, you're way up here, you're in your head and you're distracted and you're just like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Well, the way that you show up, if someone says, don't mess this up, what are you thinking about?
Messing this up, like, shoot.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So being able to recognize my words as a coach are impactful.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
They're very, very, like, the more intentional that I can be with my words and the way that I describe the movement, how I describe what I want to do, and even the feedback that I'm giving, right? Is really being able to pay attention by using my words, what is the mental picture and what are the feelings that then exactly, right? So yeah, it's been huge. And we're just talking about the space in the gym. Outside of the gym, on a personal level, I can now recognize like little buzzers going off in my head when that negative self-talk comes up. Not only that, how much my dialogue with my husband has completely changed. Our arguments look so different than they once did, right? Our conflict, instead of going around and around in circles, it's like, whoa, hold up. What are we saying right now? What do we want to say? Yeah, being able to get a clearer picture and actually speak like with intention.
And how is it now? Like, I don't know if y'all were working together before, but working together, how has that process been for both of you? You know, because some people may be like, wow, you work with your person, you're with them all the time. Other people love it, other people not so much. But for you, like, how has that process been?
Oh yeah, that's a journey within itself, right? And it's funny because now we get asked that question a little bit more and more, and what we realize is like, yeah, it's definitely something that had we not had this training, it's questionable to say how long it would have lasted, you know? Because
but you both went through it.
We both went through it, and there's definitely still those moments where it's like, okay, we're doing this, right? Yeah. Being able to recognize that we're on the same team, that is like number one priority, right? Yeah. Is that we're on the same team and we're working towards something together. That I would say is like top priority. Yeah. And being able to identify, set boundaries between when it's coworker, you know, business partner, that time versus husband and wife relationship, that time. Because and there's been times where they've overlapped, and then he's like, why are you asking me about this right before bed? I'm like, oh, my bad, you know? Right? So now it's like being able to say, hey, do you have the time to talk about this here right now, right? And there's times where I still slip up, right? We'll be on our walk with our dog and like, hey, what do you want to do for this? We're do this now? Oh, okay.
So right? he's a little more of the boundary.
Oh, yeah, right? He's really good at it. And there's this level of, I'd say, continued curiosity that we bring to it of like, how can we work better at this? Right?
Oh, I love that.
Like continuing to ask that and bringing different ideas and different methods, and also recognizing like we're two totally different people, you know? I like things done a certain way. He likes things done a certain way. So being able to play to our strengths and let each other shine what in our strengths and then coming together to be even better.
Yeah, I think that's super amazing. And there's so many like questions that like we can create so many videos from this and recordings. But let me ask you this, in your journey, and we've basically touched on it already, but your own personal experience, that take on the correlation between the mental and the physical health, what has that been based on your experience?
Oh, it's huge.
Mm.
And one of those things that I'd say, like I mentioned before, when I first went into the gym, it was very physical fitness focused.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that physical fitness helps with, managing stress and helps with mental health.
Yeah.
And usually that's not the first intention or the first thought when you go to the gym. And that's not to say that everyone goes to the gym to lose weight or anything like that, right? Everyone has their own reasons. Some people want to gain strength. Some people have, some people do have aesthetic goals. Some people have athletic or performance goals. Some people want to be healthy, you know? And so when we start to like explore this relationship between the physical and the mental, there's, I'd say, a process of exploring your own journey and figuring out what works best for you. Because there is this concept of diminishing returns, where sometimes you think we need more, but actually what happens when we do less and do it better? How can we start to recognize that there is an opportunity for us to move in a way that feels good? And sometimes I think you have to like be able to, or individually, I don't even want to say this, like it seems to be that we have to recognize where our boundaries are, where our limits are. And so with that, being able to know, like, I had to recognize what was too much, and how that actually was a negative effect. Right? Is like what we were talking about when it comes to physical health. Does it have positive mental benefits? Yes. And am I still going to get those benefits if I'm going in and I'm continuing to like bash on myself while I'm in the gym?
Got it.
Right? So being able to recognize that, and also like what part of this journey like we get to navigate. And there are so many different influences, but ultimately you get to choose, like, and what does that look like for you?
What route do you need to take? For sure. So let me ask you this, because I want, you to share also more about what you do and just like what you're excited about. So tell me, like, what's a goal or something that you're excited about that's coming up or just overall for you?
Yeah, so I'd say my biggest goal right now is continuing to connect with people and share the power that they have within themselves. In a sense, I know that my role here is to remind people that they have everything that they need inside of themselves to make their heart's desires come true. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we get distracted, or I'd say when it comes to things that, society's pressures and really just like life, sometimes that can get in the way of actually going after what it is that you want. And we can forget that this is our experience, right? This is your own human experience. And so like, what do you want out of it? Is sometimes that question in itself is like, what do you want? Sometimes it's hard to answer that, right?
What do you want?
what
It's
do
not
you
so
want?
simple.
It's not so simple, right? But again, like at the same time, it's like, well, it could be simple. Not easy, right? It's not easy, but it could be simple. And so reminding people that, well, you have the space to create the clarity that you need to create, to set the goals that, and start to walk that path for yourself. Sometimes you just need a little bit of help, a little, like, let me,
little like,
a little
push.
a little support, and a huge part of this is learning to express ourselves.
Yeah.
To express ourselves from like truly who we are.
Yeah.
And that is what I would say is like one of the things that I'm most excited about, especially with some of the conversations that I've had recently, is what you want. It's just sometimes it's hard to say it. So being able to create a space that gives people permission to like think big, dream big, and then believe in themselves, like create that belief that what they have inside, like it's there for a reason,
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
And aside from that, really, like, it's interesting. I mean, of course you're going to ask about it because but this partnership with my husband, like really, really diving deeper into creating what we want, like our hopes and dreams, and creating this vision that we see. And at first it was a little fuzzy, we knew there was something there, and at first it was a little fuzzy, but now like getting clarity on our individual and collective goals, and the thing, like seeing things come to life, like creating things together, like that feels really exciting.
Yeah. And y'all have the podcast.
Yeah, we just started.
So that's exciting. So tell everybody what your podcast is called.
Yeah, it's called The Inspired Change Show, and we're currently at the tail end of our very first season. Yay! And then we're super excited to keep that going and see what we can create with it.
Oh, a lot can be. I know y'all can create a lot, especially with two people. Yeah. And I listen to it, so I know it's good. And let me ask you this question, because I don't think I sent this to you beforehand. What is something that if somebody, a younger version of you, or somebody wanted to learn from you, what's that one key piece that you would want them to know to help them or guide them to get to a better place?
What's the key piece that I would want either a younger version of myself or someone who needs guidance to know to get to a better place? I would say be okay with slowing down. I realized for myself that I wanted to rush through to get to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Sounds like me.
And there's always another thing, right? Sometimes you're so rushed to the next thing that you don't even realize how you got there or that you got there because the next thing.
Yeah.
And so, yes, have a vision, but also like remember that it's okay to slow down, and that like enjoying the journey is is something that you deserve, and that's part of the experience, is like make sure that you're enjoying what you're going through.
Oh, I like that. Slowing down and enjoy the journey. Awesome. And so where can people find you if they want to work with you, if they want motivation from you? Like tell me all the places where somebody can contact you.
Yeah, so our Instagram for the business is at Inspired Change Co. And my personal Instagram at Joyful Jenny with the underscore, and that's 2 L's. And
I will put it in the show notes for anybody that wants the info. So so I am super grateful for you being on, sharing a journey, the story, the inspiration. Like I said in the beginning, she is really good at motivating people. So if you're not motivated at this point, go back and listen or watch. But thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.